just a quick little video to go over some Google search tips. Primarily, we're going to focus on Google image search, but I thought I'd cover a couple basics first. So, let's say we're going to talk about the photographer William Eggleston. So, you go into Google search and start typing W-I-L-I-M-E. See how it pops up right here and it says William Eggleston, American photographer? Just click on that. You don't even have to type the whole thing out. So now we've brought William Eggleston up, but what we really want to talk about is one of his books. So let's talk about William Eggleston, and we know the name of the book is his guide. And now we have a picture of his book right here, and we could just click that up and bring it up that way. If you want to see the book on Amazon, obviously that's a normal link, but what we want are images from the guide. Now we're looking at the book itself, right? Picture of the cover. Here's a link to a YouTube video about it. Here are a few photos from inside the book. But let's go back to a more general William Eggleston search. In fact, let's try and eliminate things from the guide. So what we'll do is we'll put his name minus then guide. And now you can see sometimes if you look at the cursor over here, you can see it still brought up a photo from the guide. It will make mistakes in that regard. Not because Google's really making a mistake, but more because people post photos to different services and mislabel where they're from, or don't include the word guide in the description of that photo. So keep that in mind. That will happen. Okay, now here's the important part. The tools selection in the image search. This is one of the most valuable things that you can use when you're getting images for any kind of project, especially projects where you're doing something for education or anything that's going to be shared publicly. The usage rights sections right here is very important. It honestly, it almost deserves its own button on the upper row, but this is the way Google designed it, so let's go with that. Usage rights. See how it says not filtered by license? If you use a copyrighted photo that has not been given license to be used, you're asking, especially if this was in a professional setting, but even as a student, you're asking for problems. It's technically plagiarism to use a copyrighted photo that doesn't have free usage license. So the best form, of course, is labeled for reuse with modification. Here's a photo somebody did as a tribute to his. This is when it gets tricky, because we'll go on to the next tip real quick, by the way. When you have an image like this and you just want to see the image and not open the site it's on, you can do a 2-finger click on it, and you click open link in new tab, and then, not link, open image in new tab, and then you get just the image itself. See how you can see this sort of ghost image of another picture that looks framed? That's because this is actually a picture somebody took in a museum. If you look carefully, you can kind of see them and their camera right in here. But it's still too close to the original photograph, because it's really just a photograph of the original photograph, which is copyrighted by William Eggleston. So you can't use this willy-nilly. So that's going to be a little tricky for you. But you could use this. But what you're going to want to do is open the link and make sure, see how it says some rights reserved? Click on that and get the details. This is some sort of, it's loading slowly. It has some sort of Creative Commons license. That's really worth learning about. Anyway, Labeled for use with modification is the best. You can crop it, you can change the color, you can convert it to black and white because you're allowed to modify it. Labeled for reuse. Okay, now now you're dealing with things which can only be reused directly. You can, of course, scale it up and down, but you're not allowed to change the proportion. You're not allowed to change the color, crop it, anything like that. You're supposed to use it exactly as is. Labeled for non-commercial use. Well, that means you could use it for school paper, but you can't use it for anything you're going to make money off of. That's really the way to put it in a nutshell. So, but for now, we're just going to go with not filtered by license. Now, you can see you have these buttons here, which are, hey, Democratic Force. That's the name of one of his books. You can see I clicked it. It brought up the book. It also brought up images from the book, which is a really nice way to go. And to get back out of it, you just re-click the button. Here's another book he did called Los Alamos. See all that? Oh, look. And let's get back out of it. But here's one of my favorite ones. Favorite things in the tool setting. Come down to the color selection. And you can pick something like, I want pictures that he did that have a lot of orange in them for whatever reason. And that'll come up. That's William Eggleston himself, by the way. Or red. Red's a good one. Oh, sorry. Clicked that on accident. Or blue. So that's a really handy thing. And this is really interesting, especially when you're looking at photographers, because, for example, a lot of photographers primarily work in black and white. And so you can bring up a color to force to see images in that color from them. Eggleston is primarily known for his work in color. Matter of fact, he is the artist known for popularizing, excuse me, let me rephrase that. His show at the Museum of Modern Art in New York popularized color art photography. Before that, it was seen as not really a thing. But he also has done some black and white photography, and you can find that by going like this. Isn't that handy? So, that is a great tool. So, other tools that are handy. The size one is, of course, handy. I don't think I need to explain that too much. Larger images are handy if you're going to be printing. So, and this is when it gets challenging sometimes. Despite all the access to different images Google has, you go to large, because you're going to be printing it on paper, which means you need a large image for it to look right and not get pixelated. Labeled for reuse. And say you want something in green. Not a whole lot of options, are there? In fact, there really aren't any that work at all. How about blue? Let's see if we can find something blue. Some tribute type photos. That's kind of worthwhile. So yeah, make sure you really watch these license issues. They can really wreak havoc on you. I know it's easy to say, well, they don't have the image I want. Nope, you need to pay attention to that. You can, of course, go through and clear all the selections. One more thing to look at is the type selector. Any type clip art, you're probably not going to find a whole bunch that's really appropriate, but line drawing for weight, well, there you go. How about a GIF? William Eggleston. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? So yeah, type selector can be handy if you're looking for specific things. That's about all I have to show you. Thank you for watching.